Alright, today, class, we will be learning about all of these attributes. Now, these attributes, you have to know all of them in order to assess the ability and importance of a player to your team, and I want you to have all of them memorized by midnight.
Yeah, like I'm gonna learn that.
And that's not it. There are more attributes. They're hidden and you can't even see them, but they're arguably even more important.
Oh, come on!
Really? Really? So, hidden attributes. These things absolutely take the cake as the number one thing you didn't notice for maybe even years while playing the game that are still very important, and it's kind of embarrassing you never noticed them in the first place, but you needed someone like me to tell you about them. Yeah, they are not necessarily immediately obvious, so you can be excused if, like me, you ended up in a situation where for a few years you were simply blissfully unaware of their existence and chalked up player development and players getting moody and so on and so forth to fate. But with the introduction of the new dynamic system, the new social hierarchy and social groups and all this different stuff, the extra bit of man management, hidden attributes have become even more important than just dictating how well a player is able to reach their potential. The issue is, you can't see them. Well, not necessarily, anyways. What you can see are a player's personality, and you can see their media handling style if you go here and click here. Those things will give you a window into what a player's hidden attributes are, but very rarely will they actually tell you much of anything about what all 7 of their hidden attributes are. With 1 or 2 exceptions, you are actually never going to know the hidden attributes, all of the hidden attributes of really any of your players, but combining the personality and the media handling style with how players react to certain situations, what social group they are in, you take all 4 of those things and you throw them in the pot, and you can get a really good idea of what most of the hidden attributes are, so you know whether a player is going to develop well or not, or whether a player is going to get along with your team or not, or whether they're going to be clutch or not. Incoming side note. When I talk about the hidden attributes, I'm talking about what are actually called the personality attributes, the 7 attributes that you don't see directly that affect the player's personality, performance, and development. There are more attributes that actually aren't hidden, and these are things that will often pop up on a scouting report. Things like adaptability and versatility, injury proneness, consistency. That's kind of an important one. Certainly a lot of people put a lot of weight on it. So there are a lot of hidden attributes to wrap your arms around. There are the couple that don't actually affect the personality of the player, and then there are the 7 that do. And what we're really locking in today on is those 7 hidden personality attributes. And I will argue until I'm blue in the face that these 7 attributes are one of the most important things in the game to understanding how to build your team. And that's just hard to wrap your head around, mainly because there are very few other games where something that is hidden and is not readily available to you at really any point is something that's going to have such a large effect on what's happening. Also, remember, if you're enjoying the video, please hit the like button and you can subscribe to the channel for better content. You can also come hang out with me 4 days a week on Twitch. The link all down below. The links are all down below because there's also a link to my Twitter and Instagram. So without further ado, these are the 7 attributes that I'm talking about. You have ambition, controversy, loyalty, pressure, professionalism, sportsmanship, and temperament. Now, these are not all created equal. Some are more important than others, but we'll go on the list that I've given. First, for ambition. This is the 2nd most important developmental trait for a player in Football Manager. But a player that has higher ambition is obviously going to want to move on sooner rather than later and try and become the very best they can ever be. Some would say the best that ever was. They're going to leave you for PSG. I'm sorry, but only if they're good enough. By and large, ambitious players are going to want you to shoot high with your league goals, they're going to want bigger contracts, and they're going to want to leave for better teams when the opportunity presents itself, and they're going to train better, which is something that obviously helps their development. The next one is controversy. Now, controversy has nothing really to do with anything other than how much of a jerk your player is. A player with high controversy is more likely to disagree with you and more likely to disagree with anybody else. The third one, loyalty, well, that is just how loyal a player is to your club. It's almost the opposite of ambition. They will accept lower contract values, they will agree with you no matter what you say, almost, if their loyalty is high enough, and they will probably not want to leave the club even if it would make financial sense for them to do so. After that, we have pressure. Now, pressure is how clutch your player is, but that is a bit of a narrow definition. Somebody with 20 pressure, when you yell at them, is not going to get demotivated and upset. They're able to handle harsher man management styles. Then you have professionalism. This is the best hidden attribute that there is. A player with high professionalism is going to get complacent less during matches. They are going to train better. They are going to play better. They are less likely to complain about anything from a heavy training workload to your man management style, and the development is just a lot better because they are always being their best selves. After professionalism, there is sportsmanship. Now, this one's basically not important. It's how ethical the player is within the match. Then there's temperament. Temperament is how angrily somebody is going to react to either being down in a game, being fouled, having a call go against them, or being disciplined by the manager for something. That would be you. And since I was confused by this for a while, having high temperament means that they are less likely to get angry. So temperament is high, that's good. Temperament is low, that's bad. So now that you know the hidden attributes and you know what they do, you are probably very interested in how you can get at that information. Well, I already mentioned that each one of these hidden personality attributes has a rating from 1 to 20, the same as all of the attributes that you see in the game that are visible. And while you're thinking about your whole team and reevaluating your entire life about who has what hidden attribute, and it's already hard enough to keep track of, I will be bringing in my friend Dr. Dave, the professor from the beginning of the show, who will show you through and explain all of the different personalities. After all, he is a psychological expert in the ways of Football Manager.
Thank you so much for having me back. There are a lot of personalities in Football Manager, and they all tell you different things. So I'm going to get this out of my mouth as quickly as possible. Here are the good personalities. Model citizen. That means you have high everything. The next most important one is perfectionist. It is also fantastic. It means that you have really, really good ambition, determination, and professionalism, but your temperament is somewhere from slightly below average to absolutely awful. After that, oh no, that was embarrassing. Resolute, where you have good to excellent, professionalism and determination, but your pressure can only be good and is probably worse. Another fantastic one is model professional. It doesn't tell you a lot, but it tells you your professionalism is very good. And that is nice. But for some reason, when you're a model professional, your temperament is only okay, which is weird. Then there's the tiered professionalisms. You have simply professional, where your professionalism is not quite as good as model professional, but it's better than fairly professional. Another interestingly good one is spirited. Not to be confused with sporting. Spirited means that you have good to excellent pressure, and your professionalism is somewhere between average and good. And in that realm, your temperament is average, but your sportsmanship is no better than fairly good. So spirited is really overcomplicated, but it tells you a lot. Then we have our ambitious class. You have the very ambitious, with sensational ambition, but their loyalty sucks, and their determination is only good. On down, you have ambitious, where they have pretty darn good ambition, and fairly ambitious, where it's pretty okay. An interesting note about fairly ambitious, it tells you that your professionalism is average and not much better. You might be noticing a trend, but the same thing happens with determination, which is pointless because we can already see determination. There's driven, which means you have amazing determination, but your ambition is at least average, and that's it. Determined is the same thing, with your determination being worse, which of course you can already tell, and fairly determined, your determination is even a little bit worse. But fairly determined tells you your professionalism is not great. It could be good, but it's not great. Then you have your leadership categories. Now these, you already can see your leadership. Iron-willed you almost never see, but it means they have excellent pressure. The watered-down version of that is resilient, which means they have very good pressure. And the determination has to be good, but that's the last time I'll mention it. Now we're moving on to my favorite topic, those that are worse, the bad personalities. And you will only find these on Regens. And you will most likely find balanced, which doesn't tell you anything because SI is afraid to tell people that they have bad hidden attributes if they're real, which I completely understand. The ones that suck are slack, which means your professionalism is actually terrible, casual, which means it sucks less, and then temperamental, which means your temperament sucks. There's the unambitious, which means the player has awful ambition. Easily discouraged, which means your player's just a wimp. Actually, they have terrible ambition, and their sportsmanship isn't better than good for some reason. Same with lower determination. Low determination, you need bad determination, awful ambition, and sportsmanship. Of course, we have spineless, which means your pressure is actually the worst it can possibly be, and it's kind of embarrassing. And my personal favorite, oh heavens, the one that I cope with every morning, low self-belief. That's just very poor pressure. Your determination's in the tank, and your sportsmanship is also Finally is our fine collection of neutral personalities that tell you some things and don't tell you others, but they're not necessarily good. They're also not bad. You have jovial, which means the person has excellent pressure, but their professionalism is average to toilet. At least it also means their temperament is at least average. There's also lighthearted for those people that enjoy fun, and this means your pressure and sportsmanship are good to excellent. Your temperament is at least average, and your professionalism, it can't be better than pretty good. If you can't figure out what devoted, very loyal, loyal, and fairly loyal mean, you probably need to get your head checked. They don't tell you anything else except for fairly loyal telling you that nothing else is particularly fantastic, like professionalism. Then you have honest, sporting, and fairly sporting, which is the exact same system with sportsmanship, from excellent to pretty good. But if you're fairly sporting, then your determination and your ambition and your professionalism, like all the other fairlies, it can't be great. Unsporting means your sportsmanship is actually the worst. And realists, their sportsmanship sucks a lot, but not as much. But in both of those, it means your determination is fine. So that's cool. And finally, balanced. Everybody's favorite. It means you're no more than fairly good at anything. There's nothing interesting.
I honestly don't think he ever takes a breath. Thank you, Dr. Dave. Now, I showed you where to find your media handling style earlier, so we're going to go through all the media handling styles that they are, and they can also tell you, with a few of them at least, some very good things to complement what you might learn from the personality and just observing the player. You have confrontational, which just basically means they have poor sportsmanship and temperament. There is evasive, which means they have good to excellent professionalism and pressure, but their controversy is somewhere below average, which isn't the best, but there are other things there that are nice. Then you have level-headed. This requires some following. It means your loyalty is at least average, while your temperament is better than very poor, but your controversy is kind of bad if you're level-headed, and then your professionalism or sportsmanship is fairly good. That or is so important, it's basically saying either sportsmanship or professionalism, which is either one that doesn't matter at all or one that matters a ton, is present. Media friendly, nothing. Outspoken, your controversy is poor to dismal. Then there's reserved, which is the one you want. That means you have good to very good professionalism. Your controversy is good, your temperament is good. What is there not to like? Volatile and short-tempered, you suck at temperament. Shockingly. Then there's unflappable, where your pressure and temperament are very good. And that's it. See, I told you the list was much shorter than the personalities. We didn't need Dr. Dave. So now you have this incredible amount of knowledge available at your fingertips. You're going to go back to your team. You're going to break down your team, figure out which are the players that have great hidden attributes for their personality and which are the players that don't, and who you should use for mentoring. And if you've got good mentoring players that have resolute, model professional, model citizen, something like that, and good media handling personalities and everything else, they're evasive or they're They're a nice spicy reserved. Then you can save basically any player you sign, but it's worth keeping in mind that saving any particular player that has an awful personality and a bunch of bad hidden attributes is not guaranteed. So when you're signing a player, keep in mind how easy they'll be to have around and how much they're going to improve and maybe how fast they're going to want to leave. The real key is know who you can change and eventually figure out who you can't.
And you usually can't.